Europe is having a ton of trouble with its Turkish immigrants. In the old days, of course, Europeans used to do battle with the Turks because the Turks were trying to conquer Western civilization. Nowadays, Europeans actually invite Turks to sweep into their countries in droves because things have changed. The Turks are still trying to conquer Western civilization, but Europeans are now weak and stupid. The latest troubles began when Turkey tried to get Turks in Europe to support a Turkish referendum that would give dictatorial powers to Turkey's president Recep Erdogan, pronounced Erdoğan because the G is silent, as in Angster. Until recently, Turkey had been slowly modernizing because of the secularizing reforms instituted last century by Mustafa Kemal. Kemal is usually known as Ataturk because of all the people shouting, "Ataturk, you instituted secularizing reforms." Unfortunately, these reforms have been gradually eroded by President Erdogan, pronounced Erdoğan because the G is silent, as in whiz. How come you're eroding all those great reforms? The Turks tried to gin up support for the president's most recent power grab by staging rallies in European countries. But the Europeans shut down the rallies because they were afraid they would lead to riots and threats of holy war. To prove these concerns were unfounded, the Turks rioted and threatened holy war. The Europeans put down the riots, which angered President Erdogan, which is pronounced Erdoğan because the G is silent, as in hottest. The Turkish president accused the Europeans of being Nazis, which the Europeans generally don't like because some of them actually used to be Nazis, but are now pretty nice. What's more, Turkish hackers spread the Nazi accusation by hacking them into very important Twitter accounts, like those of Justin Bieber, Amnesty International, Forbes magazine, and myself, which made me feel like a very important person who was accusing the Europeans of being Nazis, even though they're now pretty nice. Geert Wilders, a hardline anti-Islamist with amazingly gigantic hair, hoped that he would ride the Turkish troubles to election as the Dutch prime minister. Wilders had promised to de-Islamize the Netherlands, but his election bid was rejected because the Dutch apparently prefer to Islamize, and also the big hair was considered a negative. All the same, the Europeans do finally seem to be debating whether letting Islamists sweep over their countries, rape their women, kill their men, and destroy their culture is really as good an idea as it sounded when they first thought of it. On the one hand, the EU recently enacted a ban on headscarves in the workplace, feeling Muslim women should be treated fairly at work before returning home to be chattel again. On the other hand, Germany's Angela Merkel recently bowed to Erdogan's request that a German comedian be prosecuted for insulting the Turkish president. Personally, I'd have told Erdogan to et stuffed. The G is silent. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.